But a girl walking out of the gym and you find her attractive and walk up to her, are men really thinking, just to find out if she's got a cracking personality, which can happen.
Which can happen.
Now your status goes all the way down. You still don't have £5 in your pocket. But there's no way any parent or any human, 8 billion people, is going to sit and tell me you're going to be equal in your decision making there.
Yo guys, welcome back to another episode on my channel. You know I'm sitting in this spot, which means I have a great conversation lined up for you today. You know, on this channel, we like to talk about all things dating to try and, figure out what can we do to help attract the kind of person and the kind of relationship that we want. So without further ado, please welcome Grams to the show. Grams, welcome, man.
Hello, bro.
How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
I'm all right. We're sweating right now. It is hot.
It's humid, bro.
It is humid.
I don't mind hot weather. But not this hot weather though. Yeah. Like England's weird like that, man. It's just
it's like hot, but it's like you said, it's wet. It's
sticky.
That's it. It's a
sticky.
Sticky, boy.
Sticky.
So listen, let's jump in, man.
Yep.
So I want to start with tell us your age or age range. If you don't, tell us your age, and tell us one thing a girl should know about you if she wants to go on a date with you.
Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, so I'm 32.
Yep.
One thing a girl should know about me before going on a date.
Mm-hmm.
What you see is what you get.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the thing. We'll get into it. But yeah, it's what you see is what you get. A lot of people they don't give you the best representation of who they are on that day, or an honest representation.
Very true.
So, but we'll get into that. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay, I hear that. I like that. Has a girl ever looked at you and thought you were something that you're not?
Nah, because that's the onus is on you. So if a person feels that way, I would say, obviously not 110% of the time, but the overwhelming majority of the time, that's because you've kind of made her sway into a kind of a thought process where she feels like there's something strange going on. Mm-hmm. So I feel like the onus is on the person that's on the other end.
Yeah. To be authentic. Yeah.
Because authenticity lack of authenticity only lasts a certain amount of time before true colors start showing. So
very true. Yeah. What would you say the difference is between somebody kind of making a bit of an extra effort, putting their best foot forward on a date, and then them not being themselves? Where's that line?
I feel like you see it over time. Okay. So look, us as guys especially, we kind of I don't know if overcompensate is the right way to say it, but we kind of go the extra mile.
Yes.
To show, to basically give that person the perception that I'm a good guy and there should be longevity in this.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's to an extent normal. Mm-hmm. But you don't want to do it in a sense where you can't at least maintain that character over a course of period of time.
Of course. Because
you're just going to be exposed, and then they're going to feel like they're not with the person that they initially met. That's never going to work. It's just going to be constant problems because they kind of feel like, who are you at this point?
100%. Do you think a lot of guys do that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why do you think they do that?
Ooh. Okay, so actually I've said this before, so it's fine. I feel like not 110% of the time, but a lot of the time, and depending on the context in which the guy has met the girl, because that's important too.
Yeah.
Guys date for sex.
Yes.
Okay. And
not always, but there's a lot out there.
Not always. Again, it depends in the context that they met. If they met, for instance, at uni where they got seminars together, and he's seen other things in her outside of that aesthetic perspective,
yes,
then that's when he can be drawn more to her character. I see how she moves in class. She seems pretty cool, X, Y, Z. But a girl walking out of the gym and you find her attractive and walk up to her, are men really thinking, you know what, I'm going to take her out tonight. I'm going to wear the best perfume I've got, the best clothes I've got. I'm going to go pick her up, drop her off, spend loads of money in this restaurant that typically I don't go to, just to find out if she's got a cracking personality. And I just don't see that. I don't. This is me being honest. Look, we said before we went on, it's about honesty, yeah?
No, it's true.
And that's what I feel like it is.
Yeah, I agree. I personally, I think it should always be like a coffee date first. Keep it low stakes, no investment, because you don't know if you want to invest in that person more. And this goes for both ways. Yeah. I would say.
Yeah. Do you know what's funny, right? I said this in another podcast a while back, and I was like, because I genuinely do believe that the vast majority of men do it for that intention, and girls tend to do it for different reasons. Men and women date for different reasons. Okay, and the thing with it is that if hypothetically there was a way for that group of men that I'm speaking about to know what it's gonna take to get that woman into bed today, and they knew somehow hypothetically that a coffee date would suffice, he would never take her to a restaurant.
It's very true.
Because the end result is the same. So why are you spending money to do it?
If that is all he wants, 100%.
Right. Yeah, provided
100%.
that's what it is. Why are you going to take them to Novikov, these places? You can spend £200-300. You can spend £10-15 in Starbucks. The end result is identical. Common sense would say that he would do that instead. Less effort, more casual. It's not dressy. It's a coffee date in a Starbucks. It's just, for me, it's just common sense that
100%.
they wouldn't, go to that extent.
So do you think that, taking a girl to a restaurant, where he's going to spend, a couple of hundred on her, right?
Yep.
Would you then suggest to not do that for the first date? Or do you think it depends on the girl if he's going to do that?
I think it depends on, like, I would like to get to know the girl a little bit, maybe talk on the phone and stuff like that, gauge an understanding. Oh, what would you like to get up to on the weekends? Where'd you go with your girls or your friends? And you'll gauge an understanding of what they're into. Girls will, through my experience, I'm not into the whole I feel uneasy going into a posh restaurant and getting dressed and ready, and I don't feel comfortable sitting there and I've got to act and move a certain way. That's when maybe I don't take her to that kind of environment. Oh, so what do you like? I don't know. You know what? Drive-through is fine. Sit in the car and have a chat and eat McDonald's. Now you know.
I mean, I'd be surprised at how many girls would be saying that, but I get what you're saying. Thing is, though, so would you say girls who are like, nah, he's got to take me to a nice place, he's going to take me on a date? Because for me personally, if I hear that in a girl, that's a red flag to me. And that's not because I wouldn't do that, but I'm like, why do you think you deserve that straight away right now when I don't know you and you don't know me? Because there's a level of a pressurized environment, because if you know within the first half hour after the starter that you're not really vibing, you got to sit there through dinner, you might sit there through dessert and stuff, and then it's like if you're having drinks, then you add intoxication into that, then you might end up doing things that maybe you wouldn't anyway, just because you're in this environment. Whereas if you keep the first date kind of coffee chilled and maybe go for a walk or something like that, you actually get to see who they are as a person. Not that you're not making effort and you don't try and make a good first impression, but it's about, okay, you've done that. You go, oh, actually, I do like you. I do now want to invest in taking you out somewhere. Do you see what I'm saying?
It is a red flag. You're right. It is, because you don't know my financial situation.
Very true.
You don't know if I have the capability to take you there. It doesn't make me a bad person.
Exactly.
It just means that I maybe not in a financial place at that particular moment because of XYZ to do that. Yet you've kind of created an expectation of me straight away without knowing where I'm at. So it says a lot about the person, that it shows they're not really interested much in you as a person. It's more what you can do for me. It's more transactional.
Do you think it? I agree. I think there is an element of that for sure.
Yeah.
Do you think some of it could be a way of filtering out the guys who they feel on a certain level?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I'm saying this is my standard because if you're a guy on this level, then you can do that. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah,
that's fine. But then when he turns around and has a standard and he turns around and says, okay, if that's the case, which look, if that's your expectation, that's your God-given free will. I don't know if it's going to get you anywhere, but that's still your expectation. My expectation is XYZ. So now if you don't provide that, I can now bail. I can now turn around. And what will happen through my experience of what I've seen, what I've been told, XYZ, is the expectation of the guy is so much different to the expectation of the girl. And his expectation normally is something that she doesn't like.
So give us an example. What do you think is the expectation that she will have of him and then him of her?
So let's use the example of the girl that wants to be taken to a restaurant, right?
Yeah.
She knows the effort that's going to take, right?
From his part?
From his perspective.
Do you think she knows?
Well, she should. She should, because think about it, right? If she's just met me, doesn't know much about me, and she's put her foot down to this is where I want to go, clearly because she's done that before.
Very true. Likely.
Yeah, it's a repetitive behavior.
100%.
Okay, so she already knows, based on experience, what this is gonna take.
Yes.
Okay. What if he turns around and says, you know what? I put my new outfit on today. That new perfume. Filled up my car. Went, picked you up, dropped you off. I want sex at the end.
It's true.
She's gonna turn around and say, no. What'd you take me for? That. I'm not that type of girl. But it's like, you had an expectation of me, which I may have struggled to fulfill, but I did it on the basis that I want this to go well. This is what I want in return. But they don't feel like that's an equivalent. Now, I'm not necessarily saying it is, just playing devil's advocate, but to some men, that is the equivalent.
Yeah.
Because you've got what you wanted out of this.
Yeah.
Why can't I get what I want out of this now?
It's true.
And that's why I said a lot of times for a lot of people it's transactional. I don't think it's the right way to go about things.
I agree. So what do you think is the best way to move then?
Know why you're there.
Okay.
Especially for the girl.
Okay.
Yeah.
Say more. What do you mean?
So, girls date for different reasons to men, more time. Now, I would argue that the majority of girls date to get to know the guy. I genuinely believe that.
Yeah, I think so too.
I genuinely believe she's there because she finds the guy attractive and wants to see if he's a good guy internally.
Yes.
Let's see where this goes. I feel like the vast majority go for that. But you do have some girls that go because, I haven't been to that restaurant before. And, why am I going to pay with my own money? Go with a guy. He'll take me there. I'll eat there. I'll have a good time. And guess what? I'm not even obliged to give him anything at the end, which is true. She's not.
True.
I just got a free dinner.
Free nice dinner. It's true. It happens.
It happens. Now, I would say that's the minority, in my opinion.
Yes.
I'd say it's the minority. But you need to decide why you're there.
Yes.
As a female, if you're not there for good intentions, then I don't feel like you should bother, because it depends what you want. But if you're one of them good girls that's really trying to see longevity and get somewhere with someone, then you need to really decide why you're going. Are you going because you feel like this can get somewhere, or are you going just to waste your time and the other person's time?
Yeah, I agree. You know what? I even find that the idea of I have to spend 2 hours with someone just so I could eat at this nice restaurant, I would rather pay and go by myself. Like, and it's not even just that I would rather pay, but I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to like this person, and I have to pretend that I'm having a good time just because they're going to pay for me. I think that's harder than just paying. Personally, for me, I think that's just harder than just paying for yourself.
But you know what the issue is, bro? Issue is goes back to what I said before. Obviously, it depends on the context in which you meet the person, which we can get into. But if this guy's just met the girl coming out of the gym, I don't think he cares. Because the thing with it is if I'm going to get what I want at the end of this, I don't really care if I'm having fun or not. I know why I'm here.
No, but I'm saying for her.
Oh, for her.
I'm saying like, if you're saying like, one of the girls who, if she's the kind of girl that goes, I've never been to that really nice restaurant.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on a date with a guy so I can go there.
Yeah.
And so I don't have to pay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you are paying. You're just paying differently. The way you're paying is you're giving your time to someone who you don't even know that you're going to like. And if you don't like them, you have to pretend to on the date because they're paying for everything.
And it just makes you look a certain way if you don't.
Yeah.
It's a tricky one, but
let me ask you something. What do you think women struggle to understand about men that would help them kind of get into a committed relationship with the kind of man that she likes?
I think through my experience being on social media, because I make content and stuff about similar topics, I feel like the issue that I've seen a lot is women trying to understand men through a female lens.
100%. Clip that.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible. Even the other way around. So we're not going to try and...
Absolutely right.
We're different.
Yes.
Our perception on things is different. The way we think, the way we react, the things that for men, respect is everything in a relationship.
Yes.
It's a lot for women too. I'm not disputing that, but we hold it to such a higher degree. Like it's everything for us. The perception, how you make us look in public to people, like that's so important to us, important to them too. But I would say at a much, much lesser scale.
Yeah.
And not to digress, but the point is that understanding men through a female lens is never going to happen.
Yes.
And you'll forever go through the journey of life trying to understand a man's mentality thinking like a woman.
It's so true. One thing that I tend to say with people I work with as well, especially women that I work with, is that, or just men, people in general, you don't have to understand why your partner needs this from you, but just understand that they need it from you. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, for example, I'm not a big texter, right? Like,
Same.
I'm the kind of person who I'd rather have a phone call every few days than texting all day, every day. This has been a common thing with maybe women that I've been involved with, where they want more from me. And I'm thinking, what? Like, if we go out and I spend time with you and stuff, like, why do I have to text you for you to feel loved or whatever? But it's like, look, even though I don't understand, I should make more of an effort, and I have made more of an effort, because that's just a need of theirs. That's how they feel affection, even if that's not how I feel affection. So I think better for men and women to at least be together. 100% right. I don't think you need to understand why, because like you said, there are things as a man we will never understand about a woman and what it means to be a woman in that regard. But as long as we understand what she needs from us, and we do that, then it's good. And I think it's the same way the other way around.
It's the typical concept, right? You get along with the girl, she meets your mum. You know, that for us is everything, right?
100%.
Meet mum.
Yeah.
Your mum will see stuff in her that you've never seen in your life. She'll see it in a week. Things that you haven't seen 10 years, 5 years with her.
Yeah.
Because why? That women to women, female to female connection.
Yeah.
We just don't see it, and it's probably right in front of us.
Yeah, it's
but
so true.
We don't see it because we're not them. We're not in that mode. We don't think like that. We don't move like that. We're different.
Yes.
Whereas my mum will see it straight away. She'll be like, "How did you not see that?" I'll be like, "I don't know. Maybe I did." Yeah.
Maybe I did, but the outfit was looking too good.
Yeah. I just kind of, I don't know, pretend, I don't know, just didn't see it.
So would you say that it's before a woman chooses a man to be like, this is the man I want, would you say it's the same, that it's really important that she introduces him to her father for the exact same reason, for him to see certain things?
Yeah. But then a lot of this is where it gets really technical. A lot of girls don't have a good relationship with their father.
Yeah.
So how does she then navigate through life? Because the thing with it is, right, is people have this misconception that having both parents at home is a positive thing. Now, generally it is. Generally, it's psychoanalysis 101. 2-parent household better for children.
Yes.
But the thing is that are they there only physically and not in every
present.
other aspect?
You're right.
Right? Or, you know, because look, you've got people that co-parent and they have a great relationship with their dad. So it's not about being there physically. Women, especially from a man, and this is where it starts with the father, and this is why the whole daddy issues things comes out, right? They need that affection. They need that affection. They need that reassurance.
Yes.
All of these things are key. And when you don't have that in a relationship, it's slowly, you're going to start seeing it. Remember, women leave emotionally then physically. I would argue men the other way around.
Yeah,
right?
good
We
point.
walk out, act in haste, walk out, and then we slowly go through our process where we talk to our boys, and some don't, and they're at home depressed and XYZ. She's gone through that depression more time while laying next to you.
Yes.
Right? She's checked out. So it's about, like, if she doesn't have a good relationship with her dad, it's going to be hard for her, generally speaking, to navigate through life as it relates to men, because she doesn't understand the male experience.
Yes.
So, but to answer your question, it is important for her. I think it's important, but at what level of the relationship? It's got to be where there's actually longevity and you've accepted someone for their flaws.
Right. Yes.
Because even when we go back to the dating, right, a lot of people, they date, of course, like I said, for different reasons, but don't be submerged in things that in the longer period of time aren't significant anymore.
Very true.
Like, if he's got money and he's got status, which generally women like in a man, because women think ahead, we think backwards.
Yeah.
We look at our past, they look at our future.
Yes.
Right? It's like this.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, you won't accept me for my past, right? And it's like, but that's how we're wired. If I told you in 5 years this is how I'm gonna be, some raging alcoholic that's jobless, you're gonna bail. If you had a time machine, you're gonna bail, because they look at ambition.
So I agree with you.
Yeah.
So let me play devil's advocate to that.
Yeah.
What would you say to people who say, oh, let's say the women who talk to you, they say, oh, well, a guy should care about my future as well, instead of my past. A guy should care about, okay, because, yeah, sure, if a woman said to a guy, oh, yeah, in 5 years' time, I'm going to be a raging alcoholic, I doubt a guy would stay around, right? So what would you say to that in terms of men should care about a woman's future instead of her past?
What aspect of her future, though? Like, because generally I would argue, look, this is the best example I always give, yeah?
Yeah.
You got a billionaire, CEO, coming out of his building. Yeah? He's going into his Rolls Royce. This guy's in the top 1%.
Yeah.
He sees, I don't know, Karen coming out from Subway, coming out from Pret.
Yeah.
She's finished her shift, waiting to get her Uber home. If she's good looking, he stops his car and talks to her.
True.
Doesn't care if she makes £5 an hour or £500 an hour.
Very true.
It's no concern to him. He's going to get out and talk to her.
Yes.
And he'll navigate through life knowing that she's skint and won't care.
Very true.
Right? Other way around. Yeah. She sees Grams waiting for an Uber because he's on £5 an hour, can't even afford to drive.
Yeah.
Will she even look my direction?
Hell no.
Right. Why? Because we look at different things. And I always say, watch the film Think Like a Man.
Yeah.
What? It's not a comedy. It's got hidden meanings.
It's true. It's very accurate. It's
What
true.
happened? What happens with my man? That's he's a waiter. Yeah.
Yes.
He's a waiter. He's not a big chef in a big time restaurant, but he knows, because as a man, he knows. It's not about confidence. When it's because he's insecure, he's not confident enough to approach her. No, men know that if I approach this multi-millionaire successful woman, knowing that I'm only a waiter, she's never gonna go for me. So what does he do? He lies. He lies to get there.
Yeah.
He lies to get there. And when she starts seeing all the good aspects of him and thinks he's more than what he is, she starts falling in love with him.
Yeah.
The truth comes out. She bails.
Yeah.
Then goes on the date with that multi-millionaire, just sitting there talking about how rich he is. She gets put off, goes running back to him.
Very true.
Why? Because he put her in a position where you're going to really know who I am.
And this is what I was going to say, because I think so I think it's an exception, but it does happen where you have a woman who's crazy successful, to the point that 99% of guys around her that she's going to meet aren't going to be on her level. So she's just going to have to almost accept that, okay, that doesn't mean he won't have ambition or anything, but you may have to accept a guy who's not going to be on your level because you've gone to here. Right?
And the majority of women don't.
And majority don't. But I think the case where you get a crazy successful woman with a guy who's maybe not on her level is because they've been in an environment where she can get to know who he is without it being a dating environment. Because I think you're absolutely right. It's almost a guy has to bring a level of that status to get the opportunity for her to get to know him.
That's why he lies.
Yeah. And it's not, I mean, he obviously shouldn't have lied.
Of course. But he knew. He knew. But the hidden, because people look at that as a comedy, it's a funny film, right?
Yes.
But it's a hidden meaning in everything. Then you got the F-boy who changes for the woman. Do F-boys change?
Do they change?
They for the right woman, yes. I think every guy for the right woman would.
Okay.
So yeah, the short answer to that. But he knew that. Look, she's not gonna accept me for this.
Yeah.
So what the hidden meaning in that particular scene or for that particular character is, instead of trying to find a guy on your level or above, give someone a chance to see who they really are, and don't be submerged in those things that he doesn't have that you have, but look at what's really important.
Yeah.
Which is the things that are going to have the most longevity in life: character, morals, how their perception of life, how they're going to treat you. And when she does that, she ends up with him.
100%. I agree. So on that, let's take a crazy successful woman.
Yeah.
She's looking for a man and she's like, okay, you know what, Grams, you're right. Maybe I should let go of him having to be on my level because no guy meets it, right? Or the guys who do meet it are just not in the right frequency as she is.
Yeah. And probably not monogamous.
Unlikely to be sexually monogamous.
Yeah.
Let's say she's like, okay, I will give these guys on a lower economic standing a chance. How do I know which one to give a chance to? Because she's already feeling that she is compromising by giving one of these guys a chance.
Oh, compromise, the kryptonite to modern day dating.
She already feels that she's even settling by giving him a chance, right? So it's like, okay, if I already feel like I'm settling by giving this lower economic guy a chance, I have to know that the one that I'm choosing is going to be a great guy. So what would you say she should look for to know which one to give a chance to?
What do you want in a guy outside of status? Because surely that's not the only thing. There's got to be other things. Does he have to be spiritual? Does he have to be religious? Does he even want to have kids? You know, like, actually look at a guy on the inside rather than what car does he. I'm not saying this is all women, but in that scenario, she's used to that.
Yes.
Right. So it's like, you got to look at what other things are you looking for in a man, because it can't just be a man on your level or above. There's got to be other characteristics and personality traits that you like in a person. Look for that. And then you know that he's not on the economic status that you're on and on that level. So just push that aside and only look at that aspect.
Yeah.
That's what they have to do. But you're asking people to compromise, man. That's like the worst thing in the world nowadays. Ask someone to compromise.
Apparently.
People want their cake and eat it, man.
I know,
like,
it's true.
And also another thing as well that we haven't mentioned, and I feel like to an extent this is can be a cultural thing also, because I talk a lot about that stuff, is I would argue the vast majority of men wouldn't even go for a girl that makes more than him, because a lot of men don't like that.
Where do you think that comes from?
I can't speak for all situations and all men, but I would say, especially from certain cultures and how they were brought up, I would say men don't want to be in a position where they lose control. And I feel like it's to do with control.
So it's about him holding frame.
Yeah. I feel like when a man is in a situation where he's doing a lot less better than his missus, it puts him in a position where I have no leverage here.
So you think, not all, but do you think a lot of it does come from him wanting to maintain leverage within the relationship?
Yeah. And I feel like the reason why I feel like predominantly it's a cultural thing, practiced predominantly in those particular cultures, including mine, is because it's the whole woman stays at home, cooks, cleans, looks after the kid. He goes out, works, protects and provides. Sure. And now because we're in the side of the world where it's women are elevating, which I'm all for, by the way.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of people, they come to this side of the world and they kind of bring the culture with them, which obviously there's nothing wrong with that, but there's certain aspects that I think that you should bury. And that being one of them. Like, if I meet someone and she makes more money than me, I don't care, bro. And the reason why is because one day I'm going to have daughters. Yeah? One day I'm going to have daughters. Nothing wrong with being a housewife. They say it's like having 2.5 jobs. 2.5 jobs. But the thing with it is daughters are gonna be motivated by their mother differently to being motivated by their dad.
Sure.
And when my daughters, if I ever have any, grow up and see their mum is in the upper echelon of the tech industry or whatever it is, that's gonna motivate them to want to do the same. And why wouldn't I want to have daughters that are gonna be successful? And another thing also is, and I'll say this, and I've never said this on a podcast, is the way that I'm gonna teach my daughters is to never put all your eggs in one basket.
What does that look like to you? What does that mean?
Being completely and utterly reliant on a man 110%.
I completely agree.
Because what happens if he cheats or he's disloyal or he's an abuser, all these things? A lot of women that I've spoken to over the years are almost forced, definitely pressured to stay in a relationship because of all the other stuff they have to leave behind if they leave.
I agree. I think if there's a situation, let's say in this country, because the truth is, because of the cost of living, if you're a stay-at-home wife or stay-at-home girlfriend, that is a luxury. That's a luxury. Right? Like, if you're able to stay at home, like, you don't have to work in today's world, that is a luxury. Now, there could be a whole thing of, okay, maybe he did cheat or whatever, and you don't want to stop living at that house, his house, right? Because you like the lifestyle he provides and everything. It's not that she can't go out there and work. She would just be starting from a lower place than when she was with him. Yep. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I think the issue is maybe when you're saying that, oh, she doesn't want to leave behind. It's like she doesn't want to go backwards in lifestyle, and leaving this guy, she'll go backwards. But I'm like, look, if he's not good for you, then going backwards is going to be worth it for you in the long term.
Sure, but the thing with it is if you put yourself as a female in a position where you have your own money, yeah, I'm not saying, you know, don't be submissive to your husband. What I'm saying though is if you are in a situation where you want to leave because XYZ has happened, you are able to do that.
I agree.
Because you've put yourself in a position in life where you're not 110% fully reliant on that person.
Yes.
When you're just, you know, a housewife that doesn't work, doesn't have any money because he provides and you do the other aspects.
Yes.
You're now feeling like you have to be more tolerant to that because
Right.
what do I do if I leave? Where do I go if I leave?
Well, this is what I'm saying. In this country, like, there's options. Like, first off, there's benefits and everything like that. You be in the house, all this. But I completely agree with you. The question I want to ask you though is, do you think it is harder for women to have respect for a man who isn't on her level?
Yeah, it's because of what women look for in men. Look, I say women. I'll say some women. I'll say women. Because
there's exceptions to every rule. Okay?
Yeah, of course there is.
You have to caveat everything.
But look, let's face it, right? The overwhelming majority of women look for status in a man.
Sure.
Yeah, because she's thinking he can look after me. There'll be security there. I don't have to worry about the things that the majority of people are worried about in this world, which is money, another key indicator of divorce.
Yeah.
Financial problems. So she's thinking, look, I'll look at that and then I'll look at all the other aspects. And that's why a lot of women find themselves 9, 10, 11, 12 months deep in a relationship and unhappy because the status and the money is now less significant because now you find him less attractive because of all the other things that you chose not to look at.
Yes.
That now you don't like.
100%. Because we acclimatize, right?
Exactly.
We always acclimatize to our surroundings and environments. It's like when you buy a new car, you're like, oh my gosh, I've got this car. Like, you'll just drive on the road to get bread just because you want to drive the car. And then 6 months down the line, it's like, you still love the car, but you're used to it. So then if there was anything wrong with it, when you first bought it, you're like, oh, I should have got this sorted out, or I should have done this.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're absolutely right in that sense. And the thing is, I think as well, like, it's not even about money, because you could take Martin Luther King. His wife actually earned more than him, but he was on a mission. Do you know what I mean? He had
status isn't always money. It's
exactly.
how people perceive you.
It's very true.
It's who you are, how people perceive you.
Yeah.
And nowadays, because of the rise of social media and how prevalent it is, you've got digital currency.
So true.
So it's like, look, I'm not going to name names, but I've been in situations with people that I know that don't have £5 in their pocket, but have millions on Instagram. Wow. And he's getting more attention than any other millionaire that I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, look, he's attracting a certain type of female group.
Very
right?
true.
So I'm not saying all females were like that, but there's digital currency, which now equates to status.
Yes.
People see that now and think a guy has status. What happens when you get shadow banned, or people go on to the next
or your account gets deleted?
Or your account gets deleted.
What do you do? Which can happen.
Now your status goes all the way down. You still don't have £5 in your pocket.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so true. What's something you wanted to bring to conversation or ask or whatever?
What country are you from?
Born here, family Nigerian.
Okay. Interesting. So, like, you see how in Nigeria you have the divide of the religious divide of Christianity and Islam. How is, if you know, because this is the thing that I see a lot of, right, is you'll be in a country where culture reigns over everything.
Yes.
Right? And you'll see people that are, they say they're religious and they do all the religious things, but when it comes to the marriage of their daughter specifically, that's when religion gets left out the door, and it's now about what my culture thinks.
Interesting.
So in Nigeria, because you have such a divide, would, for instance, a Christian family give their daughter away? I'd say daughter because there's a stigmatization around that.
Yes.
Would they give their daughter away to a Muslim Nigerian family? Or even better, would they give their daughter away to a Christian non-Nigerian? Remember, still Christian, still goes to church. Christian.
I hear that.
Yeah.
Very good question. Okay, so I've never lived there. I used to go there twice a year all the time growing up. So I've been there a lot. But most my answer, while anecdotal, is going to come from the Nigerian community I know from there, but primarily from here, right?
Yeah.
So because, like you said, there's a community here, and it's still very cultural. I think Christian daughter to a Nigerian Muslim, I think in this country would definitely be easier because the father's like, she's going to a Nigerian. To a non-Nigerian Christian, not say it would be accepted, but I think that would be harder to accept.
So here's my question now. I'm glad you said that, which I agree, by the way.
Yeah.
Why?
Because you can change religion, but you can't change culture.
Right. But
you can convert from Islam to Christianity and vice versa. But if you're brought up in a Nigerian household, you're brought up in a Nigerian household.
Yeah. But if you're a true believer in that faith,
yes,
and you practice it, do you even need culture?
You're right, you don't. However, do you know who Paul Patrick Bet-David is?
Yeah.
One thing he says in his book is that the reason we have children is so we can live forever. Because our children live on through us. So yes, there's an element of priority for the religious and faith that we have, but people are also not self-determining. They're also self-interested. And I think having children is almost one of the most fundamental ways of self-interest, because you have children for you, so you can live on, because you live on through your children. That's why so many people want their children to be like them, right? And we have to, yes, that is true, but we have to also be flexible to be like, look, they're their own human being too. So you have to let them have the space where they can find themselves. But, so that's why I think it's different. Or that's why I think, you're right, it shouldn't matter, right? And I think for some it doesn't matter, right? There may be some who do prioritize the religion over. But I think for those that don't, it's because they want their children to be as close to them as possible. And like I said, you can change religion, but you can't change your heritage. You're born with that. You can't change that tomorrow.
What if they don't practice their culture though? Because think about it, right?
Yeah.
As a parent, you do, right?
Yeah.
The kids live through you. What happens when you leave Nigeria, bring your kids here, and you more of a westernized mentality and society breaching?
But that's even more of a reason they would prioritize a Nigerian Muslim over a non-Nigerian Christian. Right. Because the Nigerian Muslim is more likely to embed, you're going to have a household, you're more likely to have a household of the Nigerian culture if you're with a Nigerian who's not the same faith as you. But if you have a non-Nigerian who is the same faith as you probably won't have a Nigerian culture in that household.
I see what you mean.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's even more of a reason why they would prioritize it, because that maintains the culture through the generation. Do you know what I mean? Let me ask you a question.
Go on. Interesting.
What makes you take a girl seriously that you date?
I think throughout my life, the answer's changed a lot. Okay. Now for me, it's like if she's godless, I can't do it, bro.
Interesting.
Honestly, and I've alluded to this more in the last few years, I would say.
Okay, why is that?
I feel like how can I say this in the best way? When you believe in a higher power than your partner, and you know that you're going to be held accountable for certain things based on how you treat yourself, your partner, your children that you've had with that partner, it gives you, it's almost like it prevents you a lot of the time from acting a certain way, because you know that I'm going to be held accountable if I do that.
Forces responsibility.
Exactly. Forces responsibility. It makes you take accountability serious, which is another kryptonite to modern day dating and relationships.
Yes.
And I feel like I'm not saying you can't be a good person and be an atheist. That's not what I'm saying. But I believe that if I get with a girl who has the same kind of moral compass as me, or very similar, or believes a certain way that I believe as it relates to from a religious perspective.
Yes.
We're on an even playing field as it relates to what we believe, how we think, and things like that. So it will, I believe, it would be more likely that we're going to have longevity.
I hear that. And what facilitated this shift in you? Did something happen? Did you see something? Was it your experience with someone? What facilitated that shift?
No, I just saw that how much society is changing as it relates to the perception of dating and the perception of roles and responsibilities, and this person should do that and this person should do that. And I don't know how old you are, but
Yeah, I'm 29.
29. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're similar age. I'm 32. Growing up, it wasn't like this. Like, dating back in the day was a lot easier.
Yes.
A lot better to find someone decent, from my experience anyway. So the shift is almost like I can't keep up with the trends anymore.
Yeah.
I can't, like,
Yes.
do you know what I mean? I can't change who I am because the trends have changed. I am who I am. I can't be someone I'm not because society has decided that this is how it should be now.
Yes.
But it feels like when you have God in your life and you're kind of told in a sense of how things should be. It's almost like you just know, like, this is the way that I'm gonna go, irrespective of what's happening over here on social media, irrespective of how society has kind of changed and made certain things that are wrong right. Sure. And certain things that were never accepted just 10 years ago are now accepted. OnlyFans. So it's a case of, like, now we're in that even playing field. We both looking in the same direction. We're not indoctrinated by exterior things.
So let me pose a question to you now. What's your heritage, if you don't mind
Albanian.
asking? Albanian. Okay.
Yeah.
Would you say you grew up in an Albanian household, like culture?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
And God-fearing, what faith are you?
Muslim.
Non-Albanian Muslim?
Yeah.
Or Albanian Christian?
Okay, so I'm so happy you asked this because my dad, you know, you got patriotism, but then you have nationalism.
Yes.
Yeah. My dad is nationalist. Bro.
Okay.
Like, this guy doesn't care what she is as long as she's Albanian.
Interesting.
Right.
Okay.
That's where me and him differ.
Right.
Now, my mum over the years, she's kind of, I don't care anymore. Yeah. Right. I know deep down she does. You know, females say things, but deep down they feel differently.
Sure.
But my dad doesn't. He said, I don't care if she's Christian as long as she's Albanian. And I've said, yeah, but you say that because you're saying it from a non-religious perspective because you don't practice any faith. Right. So for you, it doesn't hold significance. But for me, the one that does practice it, it does hold significance.
Right.
And before, I didn't really care. Like, it was, she's Christian, it's fine. As a Muslim, we're allowed anyway. People of the book, it's not an issue for us as males, right? So it's fine. But then as I got older and started seeing, you know, kind of like my siblings and their kids and stuff, I kind of saw that it's good to have two parents that think the same way as it relates to that particular thing, because it's very confusing for children.
Yes.
So it's not that I can't marry her and love her and be with her, but my kids, you know, she might want to take them to church to get baptized. I want to take them to Friday prayer at the mosque. I just don't want that for my children, man.
I hear that.
You know?
I hear that.
So I would probably go for the non-Albanian Muslim.
You hear that, ladies? Any of you guys watching now, you like the look of my guy here? Slide into them DMs,
and
boy.
guess what? And this alludes to what we were talking about, the whole culture shift.
Yes.
It's like, it's just, when you have religion, bro, you don't really need anything else. It's all encompassing, man. That's just my perspective. Obviously, not a lot of people are going to agree, but when you have that, you're not indoctrinated by these external things, bro. And culture is toxic to an extent, especially certain cultures, especially when it relates to dating, marriage, X, Y, Z. It's a whole different ballgame.
Well, it's interesting because I hear that, and you know, certain cultures can come to mind in terms of, okay, maybe that's not conducive to what's best for the family. But every country in the world was built on religious structure. That means every culture has been built on religious structure to some degree. So, and also different countries have different cultures. Even if two countries are Christian or you know, Islamic countries, they can still have different cultures that you said, which is the nationalism.
Yep.
But the culture you know, somebody who's very cultural in a certain nation, still the cultural mindset should still run pretty coherently to whatever that religious one is, because it's built off that, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but when you mix and match, it becomes a problem, because there's a lot of cultural practices that they didn't inherit from religion that contradict religion.
I see what you're saying.
So I'll give you an example. Very easy example, right? If you go, for instance, to the Middle East, South Asian communities, you know, forced marriage is quite a prevalent thing, right? Other than India, they're all mainly Muslim countries, right? Forced marriage is not allowed in Islam. It's completely prohibited in every way, shape, or there's just no debate about that, whether it's guy or girl. But girls tend to get forced more into it. They're not allowed. They both have to accept it, male and female.
Yes.
If they don't, say the guy turns around and says no, cannot happen.
Right.
The girl turns around and says no, cannot happen.
Right.
It's a massive issue over there.
Okay.
That's a cultural practice implemented in religion. In fact, you can take it one further, where they do an Islamic marriage off a forced, so they do a nikah, which is man, woman, with an imam, witnesses, they get married in front of God. Right? Similar to the church way. But she's there off the basis that she was forced to be there. So it's invalid anyway in the eyes of God. It's a cultural practice implemented in religion.
Why don't they see it that way? Why don't they see that it's invalid? Because obviously in Islam, it's completely against the book.
Because people, when it comes to marriage specifically, the marriage of their daughter, leave religion at the door. And there's a perception and a stigma, right? I'll give you the best one, right? 18-year-old hijabi girl. Right? Brings home not even a Nigerian, because a quarter of that country is Muslim anyway. Brings home a Jamaican revert. A Jamaican guy has become Muslim. Right? And I would argue that the majority of men that become Muslim are better Muslims than the one that inherited it and were born with it, because they actually had to study it. They had to take interest. Whereas the ones growing up in it, just how my dad taught me. This is just how my dad taught me.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
But when it comes to that, he leaves religion at the door and doesn't allow his daughter to marry him. And he's a good Muslim and a revert, and
because of the culture.
Yes. And I would argue it's because of the perception.
Yes, it's the perception.
And what people back home would say, and the shaming, and the constant belittling of the family name, and the respect as if it's disrespectful. You turned your back on your culture, your heritage, XYZ, when religion should reign over that. But it only does when you feel like it. And it only does when, for everything else, so you'll do your 5 prayers a day, but when your daughter wants to marry a revert who's a good Muslim and a good person and has transitioned his life to be a Muslim, which is the first thing that you should look at in a person, no.
Interesting.
That's when we get into a whole different ball game. Because that's when it goes down to racism, discrimination, turning your back on your faith for your culture.
Interesting. It's interesting because it even happens in the sense of, like, you know, where... And
sorry to cut you, bro.
Go on.
Do you know why I use Jamaican?
Why?
And why I always use the black guy?
Why?
Because there's always been a stigma around black people. And there's always been this kind of... not even, I would say, a learned ability, because you can't be born racist. It's a learned ability where you've stigmatized a race that you've probably never even seen back home. I know in Albania, before my parents come here, they'd never seen a black guy. Where in Albania did you see a black guy? They came here and they built a perception on a race without ever meeting them. It's different if you met them, worked with them, spent years and years and years with them in a business, and you kind of have this thought of them, which is still very general, and I wouldn't agree, but you've got at least a little bit to feed off. You know, I worked with them for years and I'm just feeling this and I don't really like this. But you've never met them, never engaged with them. Yet you have built a perception of them just like this. Now your daughter wants to marry one that's come to your faith, to your religion. Right? And it's like, no.
Interesting. So do you think it would be more accepted if he was white?
There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Anyone that wants to sit and dispute that, I can do it. We can roll these cameras all night. No one is convincing me of that. There's no way.
True.
And remember, a white English guy It's still completely different culture to hers.
Completely different.
Same way the black guy is.
Yeah.
But there's no way any parent or any human, 8 billion people, is going to sit and tell me you're going to be equal in your decision making there.
Yeah, it's true.
Impossible. No
It's
chance in hell.
It's so true. It's interesting because, you know, this kind of going back to what we were saying about why you would choose someone, you know, someone of your faith, regardless of culture. Because I think sometimes we can meet people who it'd be, okay, they can be amazing lovers, but would they be the amazing partner to build a life with, to build a legacy with, to build a family with? And I think this whole practice of dating, how we date, it's like we're looking for lovers, we're not looking for life partners. Because I don't know how many people, like, and I say this for men and women, because when I ask a guy, like, oh, what is it that you look for in a woman? I think you're the first guy that I've heard that has ever said God-fearing. You're the first guy.
That says a lot, though, don't you think?
It says a lot. It says a lot of our culture.
Colorism is a thing. It's interesting you bring that up because you go to Egypt or you go to Algeria.
Yeah.
They're Arabs or North Africans that have lived there their whole life.
Yes.
That have inherited that culture, that religion, but they're your color and their parents still don't accept it. What does that say?
Well, it's almost because historically, at least in recent history, and I would say recent, I mean the past 200 to 500 years, color has almost been a representation of status in certain hierarchies. So it's like, you know, back in the day with the British royal family, right, or in British culture, being pale was attractive because it meant that you weren't out in the sun working with everybody else. It was a sign of status. Exact same thing in Indian culture. You know, if you're a light Indian, right, it was seen that you came from a higher class family than if you were a darker Indian.
Well, yeah, but they've got a caste system there anyway.
Yeah.
So there it doesn't even matter if you're Indian, Hindu, whatever.
Yeah.
Even in Pakistan, where they're predominantly Muslim, if they're not of the same caste,
yeah,
forget faith and culture now. We're talking about caste now. Don't accept it. What's his surname? This. Oh, no, we don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
That's what I've kind of done, bro. Not to digress.
No,
that's
no,
what
go
I've
for
kind
it.
of done. I went to when I started making content, it was about this stuff. 5 things of this, 3 things of this, get them to pop up on the screen. But I realized that there's a much deeper rooted issue
Yes.
that I wanted to tackle, which is more the culture, how much it affects people wanting to be together, and how when you intertwine that with religion and how people leave the more important thing, which I believe is religion, at the door for their culture because you want to impress the people back home in the village, and they're going to talk nonsense about your family, XYZ, as if that should matter and should take reign over the happiness of your children.
Yeah.
And I wanted to tackle that.
Yeah.
I wanted to go into, which is a very sticky place to go.
Yeah.
But that's where my passion is, because with me, when you said, will he change though? Right? I did for a girl.
Yeah.
A Pakistani girl who I was with for 6 years.
Yeah.
Who then was forced to marry someone while with me after a 6-year relationship.
Oh my goodness.
So that's what kind of stemmed the content.
Yeah.
Because it gave me a purpose.
Yes.
And then that's what kind of made me tackle, because look, people only learn with consequence.
Yes.
You know, people learn from resentment. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying resentment is a good thing, because you see that a lot now, people treating you a certain way because of resentment they have built from another situation.
Very true.
That they shouldn't bring over. But people learn from consequence. People learn that. And it's sad, you know, like, you shouldn't learn from a negative, but people always learn, like the struggling guy that grows up struggling. You know, he respects money a lot more. He respects where, you know, how he lives his life a lot more, because it almost reminds him of how he doesn't want to be.
Yes.
And without some negativity, without some consequence in your life, you're not going to appreciate things
Yes.
as much.
No, it's
so
true.
that's kind of like why I went into that direction.
No, 100%. And I think the running thing throughout everything we've just talked about, and this relates to dating, this relates to why girls like guys who are bigger, taller, stronger, why they like guys with money. This comes into why guys don't want their girl showing their body off. This goes into culture, religion. It's all about status. It's all about status. The reason that she didn't want, the guy didn't want his daughter marrying the Jamaican guy, even though they're of the same faith, is because it feels like it brings his status down to the rest of his culture and the rest of his people. The reason why the woman wants a guy on her level or higher is because it's about perceived status.
Yeah, it's all about how it makes you look. But men care about that more than women. I think it's the longest he's ever been quiet. This is the longest. Men care about how they look to other men more than how women look. Would you agree?
I think... Interesting. You got me there. Okay. I think men care more. They both care, but you're right. Men care
Can I give you an example?
No, you're right. Men do care more. They do care more.
I'll give you an example. I would argue that body count's a big thing for men, yeah? In women, okay? I would argue, hypothetically, if not you, but in general, a guy meets a woman who has an incredibly, ridiculously high body count, through the roof, wouldn't be accepted generally to males. Sure. But no one knew about it.
Oh, he's taken her, yeah.
He's taken her.
Oh, he's more likely to take her.
Yes, more likely. That's fair. I'll give you, yeah.
You're right. More likely. Because
why though? Why?
Yeah, because status is important. It's
because
true.
when he walks into a joint, he doesn't want people to be like, how is my man with XYZ?
It's true.
XYZ.
It's true.
But he knows she has that, even though other people don't know, but he's still willing to be with her.
Yes. So, and there's also an element of, and this goes for men and women, the more sexual partners someone has been with, the more likely they are to cheat, right? That goes for men and women. And so there is a level of that. So let me ask you this. Do you think a guy would rather take the girl who slept with 1,000 guys but no one knows? Mm-hmm. Or the girl who has only ever been with him but everyone thinks she's been around?
Okay. I don't like the comparison because 1,000 guys, it's like, let's say she's been with a lot of guys that no one knows.
What's the difference? 1,000 is a lot. Is 1,000 like, not a lot?
It's a hell of a lot, but I feel like it's, yeah. You know what? Let's stick with that.
Yeah.
Depends who the guy is. And honestly, it's that ridiculous.
Okay, I'm asking you.
As in what I would accept.
Yes.
I don't care what anybody thinks.
Okay. So you take 1,000 guys if no one knows.
If I would take the girl who's been with less guys,
yep,
but people think she's been with the whole world,
yep,
then the other way around.
I understand.
Why? Because I know what sex does to women. What sex with plenty of guys does to women.
100%.
Yeah. And I know that it doesn't matter if no one in the world knows that she slept with all those men. I know what it's going to do to her.
But that's why I asked you that question.
Right, but men don't look at it like that. Men don't know what sex with plenty of guys does to women, psychology, generally.
Yeah, I think they started to. I think it is almost like
I think they care, harsh. Not to cut you off, bro. They care more about the perception than what it actually does to her.
I think that's fair.
Psychologically, emotionally, they care more about status. Gonna walk into this place.
Right. It's true.
I'm gonna look like a guy that's dating a. Don't want to use the word and dampen the platform, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
So, but for me, I don't care what others think. It's what I know as truth.
Yes.
So if I walk into this place and I know, because you can never really know, but hypothetically, I know that she hasn't been with a lot of guys and the amount that she's been with, I've accepted.
Yes.
Right? I don't care if they all think she's been with 1 million.
I hear you. Yeah. I think I'm the same. Yeah. I'm the same. I don't care. Listen, Grams, we could carry on chatting till the sun rises. Probably over an hour now. Listen, man, thank you so much for sharing your time. Tell us, where can people find you if they want to come find you?
Instagram, it's Grams, 2 S's on the end. TikTok, the same. I'd probably say for content, TikTok.
Okay.
For things like stories and little quotes and stories and little snapshots like that, Instagram, because TikTok doesn't have that function yet.
Sure.
And that's it. I've got a podcast as well. The link's in my bio on Instagram. There's like 20 episodes on there, but I haven't gone back to it in like a year and a half. I will though. Okay. But there's still loads of content on there.
Sick.
But yeah, appreciate you having me.
No,
man.
Listen, thank you for sharing your wisdom, your energy. We'll definitely get you back on at some point. Guys, go show Grams some love from us. Definitely check him out. And if he's got a podcast, definitely give some love to his podcast. So then he will invite me on.
Yeah,
right? That's what we'd say.
Sure.
But thank you for sharing us your energy
bro.
today.
Appreciate you, bro.
Bye-bye. Thank you for tuning in, people.
Thanks,
and I will see you in the next episode.